Hello, this is Liberty Mark 222, and today I'd like to talk about feudalism and what America is, which we are a feudalistic system. People say, oh, we're a democracy, but what's really happened is that we became taken over by corporations and by big money, by banks. And so, what is a feudalistic system? Basically, like what Jones says, it's a system of slavery. But it's a system where, if you look at the Middle Ages, you had the barons, you had the different kings, and you had the serfs. The serfs were the ones that were working the land, and they would have to pay a certain amount of money to the feudal lord, and the knights, they would protect the I guess the serfs and the realm, that area. Um, so they'd be basically the army or militia for that certain area, and the barons, they might get together and wage war, like in the Hundred Years' War. The England and France were fighting against each other for a long time, and so what what was it like to be a serf? Well, basically, you had a certain plot of land. You didn't really own that land, but you had to give a portion of it. I don't know, maybe 30%, 40% to the kingdom, and the people were extremely poor. Now, um, if you go through the Dark Ages, basically the whole Dark Ages were a feudalistic system. Um, so when we came to the Renaissance, um, what we had was there was expanded trade, um, from the New World. When Columbus opened up um, the New World, you had Spain and England, mostly Holland, and um, I guess those are the main ones that got in the New World. And we had a lot of trade opened up with uh, Africa, a lot of colonies. The English were trading with the Chinese and India, so there became a lot of trade that that made merchants extremely wealthy. Venice, you had Genoa, you had the well, obviously the British became very wealthy through their trade. The East India Trading Company, they were trading slaves and rum to the West Indies, and so it the whole feudal system became much less important. The the peasants, the amount of wealth that they contributed to um, these different countries decreased substantially, and so when American opened up, Americans, they had private ownership of land, and so a lot of people from Europe started immigrating to America to get a portion of free land, um, and also when you have protection of your property rights, it enables you to accumulate wealth easier. When you're a serf, it's very difficult to accumulate any kind of wealth. You're basically just living hand to mouth. You're basically, you know, you're basically a slave paying for your own way, and it's not very efficient system. When England started the Industrial Revolution, when they started, especially textiles, when they were able to make textiles much cheaper, it expanded, and then the use of coal power, and I guess a lot of the steel. They started making railroads and really increased travel, made it much easier to transport goods. So the goods in, I don't know, let's say the interior of France, let's say the farmland in the interior of France, they could be transported to the big cities. They could be transported overseas. Actually, they could start. I mean, look what happened in America. We had the big old cattle drives, and so especially out in Texas here, the cattle were driven down to the railroads, and the meat was supplied to the big eastern cities, New York, Boston. I mean, it went up to Chicago, all over. You could transport cattle live. It might take 2 or 3 days to drive somewhere, but that was pretty quick. And then they just slaughter them in who knows, Washington D.C. or someplace in New Jersey. So anyway, this is kind of what happened. The things that broke the back of feudalism. But I see us going back into a situation where people are taxed so much here in the United States that they can't hardly keep their land. We're paying, enormous taxes on our homes and our land, and wages are going way down. And you have to have a job to get wages, and so trying to keep land is very difficult. I mean, if let's say you were just farming. I mean, at one point in America, we had 90+% of the people were working on farms. Now we have 2-3% of the people working on farms now, and the rest of us is huge farming, agribusiness. And so, and then we got all these illegal aliens that are farming, that are harvesting the crops. So, anyway, what am I trying to say? I'm saying feudalism is not a good thing for the average person. You're basically have no rights. Basically, you have very little opportunity. Basically, most of the people in the Middle Ages were illiterate and poor, and sanitation was poor. I mean, look what happened in the, what is it, 1200s, where they had the big Black Plague. It killed like half the population of Europe, and a lot of it was that I think that the people were pretty malnourished, and also there's poor sanitation. The sanitation of the Romans and the Greeks were much better than the sanitation of the Europeans in the Middle Ages. So it's not a surprise that a lot of people died from the Black Plague. Now, what are I see our government now as like an overlord. They're trying to control everything. They want to destroy all the private, any kind of private ownership of businesses. They want everything to be a corporation, and they want to control all the businesses. They want to say how everything's run, and they want to be able to make it so that people have to basically bribe people in Washington just to run their business. So if you don't pay a bribe, or you don't pay off these politicians, they'll pass some regulation that puts you out of business, or gives your business to your competitor. So it's become it's not a fair game anymore. It's like, it's who you know, who you pay off, and the rich are just getting humongously rich. They're just getting huge monopolies, where a small guy can't get into the market anymore. A small guy, there's no such thing as family businesses anymore. There's no independent gas stations. You don't see even restaurants. I mean, to get a private, or a privately held restaurant instead of some kind of fast food chain, or it's getting rarer and rarer. And that's what they're designing. They want everything run from Washington. They want everything run from New York and Washington, where they control all the money. They control the regulations. They control everybody. And part of the thing is, they're like Nazis. They don't want certain people. They're trying to get rid of, like, the useless people, the people that can't. Well, first of all, they don't want any kind of opposition. So anybody that has any kind of mind on their head, any kind of, I mean, they can think critically. They can think, and understand history or politics. It's a threat to them, and they're going to try and destroy that person. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's like 1984. They got pre-crime. They're monitoring everything that people say and do. They got massive computers. They got huge spy systems. They got drones. We got the police that are just like thugs now, just crazy. I mean, they're just killing people for the most crazy reasons. They're using tasers on people. There's an epileptic man has a seizure. They're tasering this guy, caused him to have a heart attack, and the guy almost died. It's become 1984 big time in this country, and this is why that I want to get out of this country. I don't want to stay in this country. I don't like living in a country where I feel like I'm in a prison. I have somebody, wanting to tell me every little thing to do. How you're gonna eat, and then they're feeding us a bunch of GMO food. They're spraying aluminum oxide in the air. These chemtrails, they're putting fluoride in the water, and drugging us. They're trying to. Everybody's a criminal now. We got like 1 million men in prison. I mean, it's a police state, big time. And then they got all these internment camps, re-education camps that they're setting up. They're destroying the dollar. It's like they want to own everything. They want to own all the property, all of the land, and they're just control freaks. They're absolutely control freaks, and they're just perverted bullies and sadists. These people they're sadistic. They don't even have a conscience. I mean, if they kill people, anybody that gets in their way, they'll just kill them. And they'll have some reason, and then they have the media cover it up. Now, that is not my idea of a good society, and they've got us all brainwashed, or they had this mantra for a long time that America's free, and blah blah blah. We are way less free than most countries in the world, but Americans don't even realize it yet. And so I'm going to study some more about this feudalism, but I just want to tell you, and I want to just kind of explore what feudalism is, and that we have feudalism in this country right now. And I agree with Alex Jones. I think that's a very good assessment of what's going on. Thanks. This is Liberty Mark 222.